All right, we are live. Thank you for joining us with Data Mastery Marketing for Modern Growth. My name is Jason Reno, one of the partners here at Data Accelerator, here with my partner, Alvin Reyes, our Chief Technology, Chief Marketing Officer, and have some exciting stuff for you today. We we love just sharing case studies. We're big on practical knowledge, not theoretical knowledge. So rather than say, "Hey, you should do this," or "Hey, this might work," we'd rather just show you, "Hey, here's what we've been working on. Here's what has worked." Because, if you've ever been on a data discovery call with me, you've probably heard me say that most marketing companies don't like to say it because it doesn't sound super sexy, but your best marketers are the ones who fail the most and fail the fastest. Nobody knows exactly what's going to work. Nobody knows exactly what hook, headline, and offer, and that winning combination. So you have to test fast, fail fast, and the companies that can do that or give you the ability to do that typically provide the most value. And that's what I like to highlight with our data is we allow you to insert excuse my language, a shit ton of high intent data, scrape people from your website through our identity resolution pixel, and give you a ton of high intent data to test and fail the fastest with so you can get to the winners. Then once we get to those winners, those audiences are constantly refreshed so we can scale them, without any issues. But to that point, Alvin and our team have knocked it out of the park for a client here recently. I'll bring this up here. The gentleman's name's Kevin. This is actually from a media buyer from a brand. They do Western wear. I think it's like cowboy hats, cowboy boots, all types of Western wear. Correct, Alvin?
Yeah, it's cowboy boots.
Cowboy boots mainly. So their average, I think, AOV was somewhere between $200 to $300 for their cowboy boots, a couple $100.
Yeah.
And when they originally started, they were getting a $200 cost per purchase. And it doesn't take a genius to figure out that that doesn't exactly pencil out to any profit there. To now plugging in our in-market data, utilizing the pixel data for retargeting and lookalike audiences, Alvin and the team now has their acquisition costs down to $30 to $50 per purchase with the same order value of $200 to $300. So now they're actually in the green, making some money. And as he describes it here, it's freaking amazing. And then, we can touch on it later, but this particular brand is, owned by a company that has 7 other brands. So we'll be talking to them after the first of the year. But Alvin, do you want to highlight or maybe, go dig a little deeper in how we went from $200 cost per purchase to $30 to $50 cost per purchase?
Yeah, so this particular client, they've been using just broad match advantage targeting, which is just open targeting. And they were getting about a $220 cost per purchase the first time. And then once we installed their pixel, we started identifying their website visitors anonymously. And we're just feeding that back into the Facebook audiences via live API feed. So that way, every 24 hours, as long as they're driving traffic to the site, we're able to identify up to 50 to 60% of that traffic or the devices. And from there, we typically see a high match rate, about 45 to 65% match rate, which is awesome because if you've ever purchased a list from a list broker, let's say if you were doing real estate and you wanted to find homeowners based off a demographic in a zip code or city, let's say you pull in 5 to 10,000 pieces of emails and you load that into Facebook audiences, you'll typically see a low match rate of 3 to 4%. And usually your lookalikes back then wouldn't work. But in our case, we're able to get this to work with our data for the past 5 years now, just using first party data and then just doing lookalikes of that. The other thing too is we were able to feed in an in-market keyword list of transactional searches off Google based off people typing in cowboy boot keyword variations or phrases on the open internet. And we're able to also live stream that back into their Facebook audiences and then do lookalikes of that. So the result of using,
yeah. Hold on, just to touch on that real quick. Because I just for some reason I was looking at some of the in market numbers yesterday or earlier this morning, and this particular. So just to put it in perspective, people searching for cowboy hats, Western wear specifically. When we say an in-market audience, we're not talking 2,000 or 3,000 people. The in-market audience was 581,000 people searching on a national level for products, basically transactional keywords, PPC transactional based keywords that put them in market. So we're not we're not out there just with like Alvin was saying, this broad audience, like, hey, hopefully somebody's in market for cowboy boots.
Right.
People search cowboy boots, we show them our ad. It's as simple as freaking that. And and it works really as simple as that too. Sorry to cut you off, but go on. I just wanted to put some perspective to the numbers. I mean, it's like 600,000 people almost in this in-market audience right now.
Yeah, that's on any given day. So we're able to take that high intent behavior off the open internet outside of social media, and then we feed that via live API every 24 hours back into their audiences, and that's how we're able to see an 80% drop or cost reduction on their ads or the campaigns. And if you go down to the ad level, they only have one creative, which is just like I think it was a carousel ad. So we actually seen at some days where they're getting like $8 to $10 cost per purchases. So
Gotcha.
they're really and then they actually have a retargeting campaign where they're seeing actually $2 to $5 cost per purchases on retargeting ads.
And
So
this is all just Facebook, right? So
yes.
this is like literally, and what's crazy is this is literally step one with this client,
Mm-hmm.
because we haven't even taken the data and showed them how to efficiently
Scale it.
leverage it and create that omni-channel presence. Because not everybody that's buying cowboy boots is on Facebook. You
Yes.
have demand side platforms, you have TikTok ads, you have YouTube ads. There's so much more out there. And then if I'm not mistaken, we're working on setting this client up with an email retargeting platform as well, correct? Because, they're getting 15, 20,000 visitors per month. So now we're putting, 7,500 to 10,000 people into an email drip campaign on top of the digital marketing.
Yeah, so typically with Shopify campaigns, you have like an abandoned cart sequence or a database reactivation based on people that they've entered their email. But in our case, we go one step before an abandoned cart where we don't even need your email. If we're able to identify your device and have our pixel
And
identify you, now we could create an offline remarketing campaign for pennies on the dollar
But
forever.
and yes, and what's nice is like I just had the gentleman early on a discovery call was like, oh well, how do we know that that person is interested? And it's like, okay, well, one, we can hide the pixel behind a timer, so if somebody has to stay on the site for say 8 to 12 seconds before the pixel even fires, plus the pixel is going to track the pages visited. So we could
Yes.
even say, hey, we're not going to email that person unless they went past the homepage and actually visited a product or a service, or looked past the homepage, or stayed on the homepage for at least 20 or 30 seconds, something along those lines. So now you're adding even additional layers of intent. It's not just somebody that
Yes.
accidentally clicked your site, but it's somebody that visited your site and hung out for a little while, was freaking interested in your product or services, just didn't pull the trigger. So it's, let's take another crack at it.
I think we should be applying that for all clients moving forward, Jason, where we put a 5 to 10 second delay to get our pixel firing off, because this would also kind of like eliminate for potential, like, hey, even if it's a bot, like we're not going to track that, but if you want to get higher intent, like we need someone to stay on the page for at least 5 to 10 seconds, so that way their lead score, the quality score goes up a little bit higher.
Yeah, I agree. There should definitely be a 10 to 12 second. I know that's something that was, um, but yes, I definitely agree.
Yeah, we learned that
So
from another
let's,
client that was doing that. He wanted 22 seconds on his news site. I was like, that's a great idea, and we should take that idea and implement it for all clients.
yeah, it just goes to show you learn something every day, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Um, but again, that just goes to show how customized this can all be, where
Mhm.
depending on the client, I mean, we're talking specifically about an e-com client right now, in Western wear, but this has worked for, major sports brands. This has worked for coaching clients. This has worked for, I mean, heck, even the one, I guess it's e-com, but it's also coaching. I don't want to say the specific name, but they're selling like, 10 to $15 stretching courses where we jump on. Now they didn't think Facebook ads were going to work because their courses were so small. And before they were or the price point was so small, and they were getting like, $3 to $5 acquisition costs. And correct me if I'm wrong, Alvin, but with this particular brand, we're like at 87 cents or like 90 cents acquisition cost, around $1.
Oh yeah, yeah. So this client, it's a lady who does the stretching courses. We got it. We were using the first party data and then just doing lookalikes of it. And then they were getting, again, they were getting about like $2, $3 cost per leads. And then with
which doesn't pencil out when you're selling a $10 product, or it can, but when you take everything into account, it doesn't work. But
yeah,
you get them for 90 cents. I mean, 75 cents on the dollar. That makes sense now.
so their course is a $60 course, $59
Okay,
course.
gotcha. I thought it was
Yeah.
cheaper.
So well, their lead magnet is actually a free guide that would lead into a $60 course. So that's how they're actually getting it so cheap. But they're getting
Gotcha.
$2 to $3 cost per leads, and we got it down to like $1 to 80 cents per lead with the data.
That's huge.
Yes.
Getting you get basically getting 3 times as many leads in for the same buck. I mean, heck, you can't beat that.
Yeah. Going back to that another client with the cowboy boots, they're also in an auction by themselves pretty much, where they have an audience, a custom audience that nobody else could tap into, really. That's how we're able to get those, to find those people.
Gotcha, because where everybody else is using Facebook's broad audience algorithm and everybody's kind of fishing in the same pond,
Right.
we're over here, by ourselves. We have our own. I'm not a fisherman,
Like
but
a
what do they
private
call
pond.
it?
It's like
Yeah,
we
you
have
have
our
your
own
own.
private pond.
Yeah, you have your own private pond, your magic fishing hole that nobody knows about.
Mm-hmm.
That is stocked full of fish that want your bait, so to speak. If you want
Yes.
to, continue on with the analogy, but
Yeah.
that's actually a good way to look at it. I've never really heard it explained like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that just goes to show the in-market data, the pixel data. It's extremely powerful. It's worked on multiple brands. Any other? I mean, we're trying to keep these about
Yeah.
under minutes. We got a couple minutes left. Any other hot case studies that you can think of?
Yes. We have another lady. She actually manages her own media buying, but she has a webinar for people that have parents with dementia, and she's giving out like a webinar. She sells supplements, and her cost per purchase was about $220 um, when we first saw it. And this lady, she's really hesitant on only testing like 1% lookalike audiences.
Oh, I
She
know what
wouldn't
you're
want to
talking
go
about.
past that. She's really, because she said it didn't work. Well, the thing is, it probably didn't work because maybe she had bad data, maybe she was driving bad traffic. Because again, you cannot target people with dementia on Facebook. They don't allow you to do that, right?
Yeah, of course
So
not. It's PII.
so we take the first party data, we fed that back into her ads, and then what she did, she actually did some advanced media buying strategies where she took the 1% lookalike and she duplicated it 5 to 7 times. So pretty much she was actually in the auction 7 times, trying to find a couple of sweet spots where, hey, give me the lowest cost per lead, and then I'll just leave you on and scale you out. So it was really cool to see her do that, because we've done that in the past ourselves. But we saw a couple of pockets of those lookalikes. She cut it down to 50%, down to like $110 cost per purchase, just doing that method with the data. She had to do it with the data.
Yeah, no, and that's awesome. But again, it goes back to you have to test and fail. Like, I mean,
Yes.
people say, well, who doesn't this work with? One,
Right.
the data doesn't work with somebody who's like an immediate, hey, my pipe in my house exploded and I need somebody out here in 30 minutes. The data doesn't necessarily work in those emergency type situations, but pretty much everything outside of that, if you have at least a 3 to 5 day buy cycle in your
Right.
product or service. But the point I'm trying to make is you have to be able to insert the data and test, because this lady, she didn't really take the advice. She just did the 1%. And mind you, the 1% didn't work, right? And she didn't want to test past the 1% until you and Shaw kind of urged her, like, hey, look, you got
Yes.
to do a little bit more with this. And then that's when she did that other creative ideas, and now she got it to work. But she just went past the initial, like, hey, I'm just going to test a 1% variance for 48 hours. Oh, it didn't work, and you shut it off. It's like, it doesn't quite work like that. You got to give it some time. You got to find that sweet spot and that winning combination. And it might take a couple weeks to find it, but God, once you do, you're hitting a home run.
Yeah, we had a couple of media buyers. They love working with us because they allow them and us to like spitball ideas, strategies. Like, hey, I'm so used to only testing 1%. Like, I'm so hard set on not testing anything past that. It's like, well, wait a minute. Like, we've had other clients who had success testing all to 1 to 10% lookalikes, and they got all 1 to 10% audiences to work. Well, let's test some. Let's put a small budget. Like, don't put $500 a day on one audience. Let's like break it out to like smaller pieces, to like $25, and let's test a little bit longer. because the thing is, like, your audience, they might not be there today or tomorrow. What if they come onto Facebook on the 4th or 7th day and your ads aren't even on, or your offer's not even there in front of their eyes? This is the reason why we can't just test, hey, I'm only going to give 1 to 3 days, and if it doesn't work, your data sucks. Like, no, that's like the wrong mindset, the wrong mentality of testing with us.
Even look at I hate that we can't even, I don't want to mention names, but look at
Don't.
like yeah, the financial company where I mean it was, they struggled for the first few months, but they knew that the value was there, that they knew the
Yes.
potential was there. They were just breaking even the first couple of months. They weren't hitting any home runs, but it wasn't until what, like month 5 or 6, now all of a sudden they've, and it wasn't so much the data, they had to go back and tweak their offers. I mean, it was a financial company, so had all
Yeah.
kinds of regulations, but they had to go back and tweak offers, make adjustment to landing pages, and make everything cohesive from, you know, the actual data, people entering their funnel all the way through. But now working with us, working with you and Sean, our team, they've now gotten to the point where they're, you know, they're hitting that sweet spot. They're getting their, you know, 75% reduction on client acquisition costs. They're finding the right people.
Right.
But, you know, you just, the data didn't hit the home run. And what I tell people too is the data is not the linchpin. It's not going to cure a crappy offer, a crappy headline, a crappy converting
Landing
landing
page.
page.
Yeah.
You know, other times you got to insert the data will allow you to, though, see your roadblocks a lot faster, right? So that way,
Right.
if you insert the data and it's like, hey, shit, here's the roadblock. Okay, we got to work on the landing page, or we got to work on the offer. We got to
Yeah.
work on the abandoned cart, whatever it is. And that's where the data allows you to track that customer journey, identify roadblocks. So when you're sitting there going, oh, why isn't my page converting? How come we're not getting the, you know, the right KPIs that we want? It's like, because you don't even see where the roadblocks are. And that's where the data and our team comes in and helps out quite a bit.
Yeah, first thing we want to really identify is, like, are you getting bad traffic or good traffic? And the pixel will tell you what it is. From there, we'll, like, all right, how is your landing page converting or not? So typically when we do start feeding in data, better data, and then you already have a winning offer, or a really good creative that's generating a 1% CTR, from the ad side, that means your audience, your data, and your creatives are congruent, is good. It's not an ad issue. It's more likely you have a bottleneck on your landing page that's not converting. So we've seen this time and time again where clients will have a page that's not really optimized properly. And me and Shaw, our media buyer, were able to identify that pretty quickly. It's like, look, let's just simplify your really long funnel. Let's just condense it down to, like, keep it above the fold where you can't scroll, and let's just focus on like 4 to 5 elements, and let's just get that thing to convert where people are either entering their information or they're even buying a product. Let's just prove that out real simple. Keep it simple, stupid.
Well, yeah, because it's like and I feel like it's almost like people are getting worse at this, where they're trying to have an ad that speaks to everybody. They want a landing page that talks to everybody and covers everything. And yes, just simplify it. Find
Simplify,
one
yes.
audience, talk to one audience of people, create a landing page that speaks directly to that audience, and stop trying to, you know, talk to everybody, because nobody's listening at that point, right? When you're talking to
Right.
everybody at once, you got to talk directly to your audience, and we're able to find that audience, deliver your message to them, and again, test and fail fastest. All right, we're approaching 20 minutes. Let's wrap things up. If you guys want to book, anybody want to book a data discovery call, there's the dataaccelerator.ai. Jump on a call with myself for 20-30 minutes. Love to learn about your business. We can go a little deeper into what we can do and see if we can figure out a you know, win-win situation where we have a customized data consulting package, and help your business scale efficiently, you know, to end the year here, and then more importantly, you know, ramping up for 2025. What most people don't realize, they're like, oh, well, I don't know if I want to put this pixel on right at the end of the year. You know, what if my client's not converting? It's like, well, all those people are going to convert in January. Why don't you stockpile that database, so come January, you hit the ground running? Or like Alvin likes to say, you can start on third base come January 5th, when everybody else is still, you know, back at home plate.
We should probably run some ads with like a bear or a squirrel just harvesting nuts and acorns on food. So that way by the time January hits around, like, oh, I
If
have
I
30,000 emails or pieces of contact information. Let's go gung ho with our ad spend for January 1.
if anybody's still listening to this, if I had $1 for every crazy ass idea Alvin threw out, I'd be retired already. But let's do this again. Remember last time, not one person actually, I don't think, watched our whole video. So it's 19 minutes and 57 seconds into this thing. If somebody is still listening to this, email me at Jason at definitiveedgemarketing.com. And let me know that you're still watching our video at 20 minutes and you want a $50 Starbucks gift card, because I'll mail it to you if somebody's still listening to this thing. All right, cool. We'll talk to you soon, Alvin. Appreciate everybody listening, and tune in for the next episode next week. Take care, guys.
See ya.